Top of the show, we have special guests. They're going to love this. Peter Flaherty is a longtime anti-corruption activist and chairman of the National Legal and Policy Center. He spoke at a recent Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting in Omaha, Nebraska. Now, that's that Warren Buffett organization. We showed you this video.
Oh.
Yes.
I can't believe you're alive, dude.
Yeah, as he was advocating for two separate people to hold the offices of chairman and CEO. And in his speech, he brought up Bill Gates' connection to Jeffrey Epstein. His mic was cut and he was arrested and forcibly moved from the arena.
Stop bullying Bill Gates.
So let me show you the video of that happening, and then we'll...
Senators to present a proposal.
Stop bullying Bill Gates.
I am Peter Flaherty, chairman of the National Legal and Policy Center. If we had an independent chair, the company would be less identified with Mr. Buffett's political activities. He's donated tens of billions to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. As Bill Gates explained when the company was still together, although the company bears our names, basically half our resources have come from Warren Buffett. If woke culture is the disease, then philanthropy is the virus. The Gates Foundation bankrolls the teaching of critical race theory around the country, including that math is inherently racist. The Gates Foundation offers a gender identity toolbox, which asserts that gender is a result of socially and culturally constructed ideas. This is a lie. Gender is not a cultural construct. It is a genetic and biological fact. You're not going to censor what I say, ma'am. I'm very sorry. And I'll appeal to the chair that I be allowed to continue. Sir?
You may continue, but you're under a 3-minute limitation.
Of course. We know how much Bill Gates cares about children. He met and traveled with Jeffrey Epstein many times after Epstein's convicted sex crimes. The Gates Foundation had a huge influence over the COVID response fiasco. The Gates Foundation may be the largest single donor to the dark money machine known as Arabella Society. It funds causes like defunding the police, making American cities unlivable. Money goes also to groups conducting threats.
So then applauded that they cut his mic, and then of course they arrested him. Here's him getting arrested. Oh wait, is that video working? Let's see.
Yes.
And then here he is getting arrested. They came in immediately. So it's funny, like he's also a rich guy, but the cops listen to the other rich guy. Like, how did the cops know which rich guy to listen to?
Whoever rented the stadium.
Whoever rented it? Yeah. Oh, that's it. He didn't rent it himself.
Works,
okay.
Yeah.
So let's bring in Peter Flaherty, the man, the myth, the only one who I've seen to say that to a room full of people like that.
That's the greatest one I've seen of all the videos we showed of someone doing that. That's number one.
That's number one. That was so Peter, let me bring you in and that was just, amazing. And so tell me what made you want to say all those things? And what is that meeting about? Like, what are those people that's in the audience?
Well, this is the annual meeting of shareholders of Berkshire Hathaway Corporation. Every publicly traded company has to have an annual meeting so they can reelect the board and consider shareholder proposals and so forth. Of course, Berkshire Hathaway takes it to a new level. Thousands of people come from all over the world. It's been called Woodstock for capitalists. For me, it was kind of like Altamont.
It was like what?
Altamont, the Stones, the Hells Angels stabbed a guy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Yes. That's what it was called.
That's a good joke, Jimmy. It's too bad you didn't get it.
I'm sorry. You're right. Kurt laughed. He got it. I missed it.
He got it. He's younger than you.
Okay, yeah.
Although you have to be old to appreciate Altamont jokes.
Yes, I do. I appreciate it now.
You saw the cable guy that was mentioned.
I'm sorry. I didn't see the cable guy. All right. Well, so you go into this, you're good. So you want Warren Buffett, who's in bed politically with Bill Gates, to be separate from representing the company. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, let me explain what this resolution was. It's called the Independent Chairman Resolution, and it simply asked the company to separate the two roles. It's considered good corporate governance 101. We're doing it at 8 other companies this year. And unlike some proposals, it's one that's supported by shareholder activists on both the left and the right. Now, it was kind of an interesting situation at Berkshire Hathaway because Warren Buffett is just so identified with that company. In the public's mind, they're one and the same. And we think that that creates even greater reputational hazard for the company and danger to the brand. And it's underscored by reality, by recent events. The week before, the Wall Street Journal had a lengthy piece about how Bill Gates had spent a lot of time with Jeffrey Epstein and traveled with him. And this was after Epstein had been convicted of sex crimes against minors. So it was germane. It was not a cheap shot. It was not a personal attack. All I was doing was repeating what was in the newspapers the week before. And I stand by our assertion that it represents a reputational risk to Warren Buffett and, by extension, Berkshire Hathaway.
And so was that kind of an unprecedented thing that they cut your mic? Was it Warren Buffett who cut your mic, or did someone else give the okay?
I've been a shareholder activist for 19 years. I've never had my mic cut, and I've never been arrested. I don't know who gave the order for it to be cut. I really couldn't see Warren Buffett, but looking at the tapes, it looks like he became animated and perhaps gave the signal to somebody. But I don't know.
There's a button probably.
But in any case, they were ready for me within seconds. And we have other videotapes of this that have not been released to the public. Within seconds, I was surrounded by these guys. They did not identify themselves, but they looked like they worked too many rock concerts over the years. So I assumed they were security. And they said, "You must leave now or you'll be arrested." I said, "I'd like to finish my statement." And they said it again. And within a few more seconds, a uniformed Omaha policeman was summoned, and he said, "You're under arrest." I was interrupted twice, had my mic cut off, arrested, and hustled out of the arena, all within my 3 minutes.
Wow.
And so was it private security? Is that who it was? Or was it Bill Gates' own personal henchman, or who was that?
I believe it was a private security company that had been hired for the day to provide security in the arena. I should note that according to the police report, the officer who arrested me was, although he was in uniform, he was off duty and working for the security company that evening.
Oh, so now, but he
was literally a rent-a-cop.
Oh, okay. So he wasn't really acting as in the capacity of a Omaha official policeman. He was acting in the capacity of a hired thug for some rich guys, right?
Well, not a thug. I didn't have any trouble with the police. They were all very nice to me. I understand there were about 40 off-duty Omaha policemen in uniform working the event.
Okay, that's not uncommon. They do that all the time.
Well, it was a big meeting, and that's probably consummate for a meeting of that size.
Okay, and so did they charge you with anything, or did he just kick you out of the building?
No, I was taken upstairs. I was put in a cruiser. I was taken downtown. I was searched. I was handcuffed. I was eventually charged with criminal trespass, which is an interesting charge since my name was on the agenda. And, I should emphasize that this was not a Q&A session or anything like that. I had a duly introduced a resolution that appeared in the proxy. On April 28th, we filed a long proxy memo with the SEC in support of it. I was given 3 minutes, as were other proponents. 3 people spoke before me. They went over, 4 or 5 minutes. They weren't interrupted. So this is a very serious situation where they just didn't like what I said or was going to say. And that's the only reason that this occurred. I've been going to shareholder meetings for years. I've spoken before practically every major company that you can think of. And my demeanor has always been the same, and it's never gotten me into trouble before.
And so what was the third rail that you touched on here? Was it Jeffrey Epstein? Was it Bill Gates? Was it critical race theory? Was it which was it?
It was clearly the Epstein stuff, clearly.
But they're going to pretend it's the gender stuff.
Well, the gender stuff and the critical race theory, I think that's very serious topic, and I wanted to get it out there. Remember, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, when it came along, was going to cure all disease. They were going to end hunger in Africa and everywhere else. This was a noble endeavor by billionaires who were going to give away their fortunes instead of just, living it up.
Pledge.
Yeah.
Yes, right. The giving pledge. And it was such a wonderful thing that Warren Buffett said, well, why should I reinvent the wheel? I'll just give my money to Bill Gates because he's already laid the groundwork for this thing. Well, that's all well and good until you start supporting a bunch of ideological causes, and when that happens, people like me are going to notice, and we're going to bring it to the attention of a wider audience. This whole thing backfired on them. If they were trying to silence me, it failed.
Totally.
The videos have been seen by millions of people on Twitter. Now your show on Fox News. It's everywhere. So many more people heard my message than otherwise would have. I just wish I had to.
So that's good.
Isn't it great how the InBev Corporation is going down in flames for the Dylan Mulvaney can, but Gates hung out with Epstein Island, and that's not harming the brand.
That's not harming.
He's getting arrested.
Yeah.
For bringing it up.
So he's standing up for the brand and trying to, and so he gets arrested. That is kind of amazing. Oh,
by the way, if I was allowed to continue my remarks, I was going to cite the Dylan Mulvaney case as evidence that companies can get into trouble when they get involved in controversial issues.
Well, what if we replace Warren Buffett with Dylan Mulvaney?
So I didn't know. So
I'd not only be thrown out, I'd be, face execution probably.
So Peter, so when you gave that speech, I didn't know that Bill Gates' foundation was funding the pushing or indoctrination of what people consider to be woke culture, critical race theory, gender theory, all that stuff. And so, if you're like me and you're walking around wondering like, how the hell did we all start talking about this all the time? And it's such a small, itty-bitty segment of society that everybody's obsessed with. And then I hear you give that speech, and I'm like, well, is that why? Do you think that's why what the culture is so consumed with this? Because billionaires who actually influence the culture, and people know because of this show, people who watch the show know that Bill Gates owns the media. He funds the media to hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So he kind of dictates what kind of stuff they write about him. And so is that where all this is coming from in your idea?
Yeah, I think so. These activists have appeared in every community in the country, it seems. They're shrill, they're ambitious, and it seems like the noise they can make, even with the sympathetic media, is greatly out of proportion to how many people they represent. So why does this happen? It happens because they're well funded. The billionaires didn't create these people. It probably originated in academia, but they are now enabling them. It's not only Buffett and Gates, it's Soros, it's Mark Zuckerberg, it's Jack Dorsey, it's Reed Hastings. If you go down a list to see what they give to, you just understand why you turn on the evening news and you see nothing but these angry left-wing protests and activism that's often vulgar and violent. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is the largest single donor to something called Arabella Advisors. That's the left wing's big dark money machine. They support groups that are out in front of Judge Kavanaugh's house with these, loud demonstrations. They're the people that are seeking to defund. They're supporting groups that are seeking to defund the police in cities, making American cities unlivable. So I think it's time for us to fight the battle at the local level, as many courageous people are. But it's also important to make the connection as to where the money and the support for all these horrible ideologues is coming from.
So, FYI, the people pushing defund the police, that's a head fake. That this is all a distraction. Nobody, they did not want to defund the police. As soon as they got into a legislative session after a whole summer of calling for defunding the police, people like AOC and Bernie Sanders, they decided to fund the police to the tune of $2 billion more. They created a whole new police force and gave them $2 billion. And so that was always a distraction. So that's why I try to tell people that the pro-censorship crowd, that is also a distraction. And so what they do, they say, well, we're for censorship because we're going to try to protect minority groups and and victims and what are they called, the marginalized groups or whatever, or protected class, right? Well, that's a lie. The reason, there might be some people who believe that, but that's not how censorship works. Censorship always works in favor of the establishment and against the people, the minority groups who actually are pushing against the establishment. So censoring people under the guise of protecting minority groups is a lie. And so that's why there's a lot of this garbage. That's not left wing. That's right wing. Censorship's a little right wing. And I don't know what you call the kind of activists that's happening right now, but that's not left wing. And those people who said defund the police were liars. They never meant any of that. And they actually went and funded the police. So this is all to keep...
Jimmy, I think when you're talking about elected officials, they're running for cover because defunding the police turned out to be such a bad idea. But the activists who originated the idea, they're still very much wedded to it, and they're still trying to enact.
So they're like wingnuts that wouldn't have gone anywhere unless they had a lot of funding. The ideas aren't popular. Like, people don't like them. The only way you can get like that kind of, and it's never about unions or anything it's always about some stuff that ain't going to cost a billionaire any money.
That's right.
And that's how they can be everywhere.
So great point. So Peter, just the point that I make on this show is that my theory was why we're always talking about all this stuff, bathrooms and things like that don't seem to matter to most people, is because the Democratic Party turns its back on the working class. We used to have a political class. We used to have the Democrats represented workers and the Republicans represented business interests, and then they would come together and have compromises. Well, that doesn't happen anymore because both parties represent the business class, and so that's why the Democrats have to spend time funding all this other stuff and pushing all this. And so when we're always talking about all this garbage social stuff instead of economics, because both parties work for Wall Street, the military industrial complex, big pharma, health insurance, and Silicon Valley. That's the theory of this show. It happens to be right.
Well, I actually agree. I actually agree with that analysis. And it'll be interesting to see whether the Republicans can get the divorce they need from corporate America. Even in the wake of the Dylan Mulvaney episode, you had Donald Trump Jr. saying, well, Anheuser-Busch has learned its lesson. Let's lay off.
Come on.
Yes. You had one of the party committees suddenly taking down a tweet critical of Anheuser-Busch. It's because Anheuser-Busch provides a party with a lot of money.
Yes.
The Disney situation is even more instructive, perhaps. I think that Ron DeSantis has been very courageous in taking on Disney. But then you have Nikki Haley saying, oh, well, if they want to leave Florida, they can come to South Carolina. And then you have Donald Trump, ridiculing DeSantis for something that's actually very, very good. So it'll be interesting to see. But I basically agree with you. I think it's more urgent for the Republicans to get a divorce than the Democrats. I think that's necessary if they really want to become a middle class and working class party.
Yeah, okay. I agree with you, but that's not ever happening. It's over in America unless there's an actual revolution, which I don't see coming. But it might. I'm bad at predicting things. So maybe I would have never predicted that Christian Smalls could organize a bunch of Trump voters into a union against Amazon on Staten Island, but he did it. So,
well, isn't it annoying that all these guys are all libertarians, but you're going to have to be like some kind of weird socialist, but you don't get any of the benefits you're supposed to get? They're all libertarians, these tech companies that do this stuff.
Oh, the tech companies.
Yeah, and then you're going to be some corporate left thing they made up, And
This is all
bugs,
right.
yeah.
This is all, all that stuff about inclusion and all that stuff. When you hear a corporate person saying that is because they're not going to give their workers a raise. They're not going to give you anything else. They're going to do all this other stuff to make you. It's all virtue signaling.
That's right. Amazon gives money to every left-wing cause there is.
Yeah.
But you go to their warehouses and, they're fighting the unions and it's repetitive motion. You can't go to the bathroom and the pay's not very good. And plus, it's just a way stop to replacing all these people with robots anyway.
Yeah, that's I was about to say the exact same thing. Like, we just got to wear them out until the robots are perfected. And then we don't got to pay
And then the
anybody.
Republicans go to bat for Amazon for all these things before Congress, whether it's independent contractors or whatever, without getting anything out of Amazon to stop funding and supporting their enemies.
Boy, it's funny, whenever someone gets censored for real, it's never for lying. Whenever someone gets censored for real, it's because they told the truth. Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, Chelsea Manning, doctors during COVID on social media.
You're going to add me to that list?
Now I'm going to put you on that list. That's exactly
I'll tell you
right.
the number one I've ever seen in my life.
I don't want to host a reunion with these people, but I'm definitely the victim of censorship.
Because
and
you told the truth, Peter.
I had a general First Amendment right to say what I wanted to say, but I also, as a shareholder, as a public shareholder in a public company, had enhanced rights by being the sponsor of a resolution. And it's not up to the company to tell me what to say. The whole point of filing a resolution is for me to say what I want to say and try to convince other shareholders, as is my prerogative. So the whole thing is more than regrettable. Are you going to file a lawsuit on this? It's astonishing to me.
Well, charging you with trespassing at a thing you were invited to is
where your name's on the agenda.
that's
are you going to file a lawsuit maybe, or no? Is that too much of a headache?
Well, they arrested the chairman of a legal institute, so I don't know how smart that was. As far as I'm concerned, I was falsely arrested, and I'm now the victim of malicious prosecution. So stay tuned, Jimmy. We will have a response.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thanks for doing that. I'm sure there are not many things we agree on politically, but the things we do agree on, they're fun and thrilling. So, Peter Flaherty, anything you'd like to say to the audience before we say goodbye?
No, I just want to thank you for bringing attention to this. I've been on a bunch of, conservative shows, the usual suspects, but I've also been on shows with, some liberal and some left-wing people. And I think that there's a recognition that this was a truly irregular and unjust. And there's never a downside to speaking truth to power. And courage is courageous, and we should just all do it. It's hard, but we should all do it.
Well, that's certainly the motto here. It's called the Streisand effect. So when they tried to silence you, it's what brought more attention to it. And of course, they only have themselves to blame. They have their hired security, but then we have the internet. So Peter Flaherty, thank you very much for coming on, and we look forward to more of your activism in the future.
Okay, well, I hope it's not too soon, but good to speak with you both, Kurt and Jimmy.
Okay,
take care.
Bye-bye. Check out my new stand-up special, COVID Lies Are Funny, at jimmydore.com. Only $10, become a premium member. We're going to be on tour in Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, Cohoes, New York, Hartford, Los Angeles, Bakersfield, California, Baltimore, Maryland, and San Francisco, California. Plus, did we say Chicago? There's lots of stuff. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. See you there.